holy is he. Sing a new song to him who sits on heaven's mercy seat. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain, holy, holy is he. Sing a new song to him who sits on heaven's mercy seat. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. With all creation I sing praise to the King of Kings. You are my everything, and I will adore you. Clothed in rainbows of living color, flashes of lightning, rolls of thunder. Blessing and honor, strength and glory and power be to you, the only wise King. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. With all creation I sing praise to the King of Kings. You are my everything, and I will adore you. Filled with wonder, awestruck wonder, at the mention of your name. Jesus, your name is power, breath and living water, such a marvelous mystery. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come.
Good afternoon. I don't know, I'm Sharon. Welcome to my backyard. I don't know about you, but I could really use a vacation about now. I know some have been traveling, some of you go out to eat at restaurants, some of you are managing to live a fairly exciting life. But for Larry and me, we've done an awful lot of staying at home the last 6 or 7 months. We cook at home, which is new for me. We don't eat out. We walk around our neighborhood a lot of days, and we enjoy spending a lot of time in our own backyard. The seasons do bring changes, which we enjoy, but in many ways our lives have settled into a lot of sameness. And every once in a while I find myself wishing for a change of scenery, instead of the same old routines. But I know when I think about it, even when I do remember what it was like to take a trip, I always found myself at some point longing for the comfort of my familiar bed, my own pillow, and just the faces of my family and friends. There's something about sameness that is very comforting. When Larry and I were planning to get married back in 1983, there were a number of decisions to be made about our wedding, of course, and about our future life together. But one thing that Larry had already made up his mind about was the location we would go for our honeymoon. Ever since he'd been a boy and had gone camping with his family in the Rocky Mountains, he had thought that that was the most beautiful place in the world, and even as a young boy, he remembers thinking that when he got married, that's where he wanted to go on his honeymoon someday. So we spent our honeymoon in Colorado, and a good deal of it was spent in Estes Park, where we could hike the beautiful Rocky Mountain National Park. Well, over the years, the road up Big Thompson River Canyon has become a really familiar, well worn one for our family. There's something about returning there that never fails to inspire us, but it also never fails to comfort and reassure us. No matter how many times we've returned there, and we have gone many times, it's always comforting to see the same familiar peaks. We even remember boulders that are in the same spots. We see the same lakes and the rivers, and even the same landmarks made by man have not changed too much there. And our family may grow and change. We have taken family photos in this same spot year after year just to watch how our family has changed. But the mountains remain the same. They seem to stand the same over vast durations of time, even as we grow old and change. And while visiting new places can be exciting and whet a need for adventure, we have found that returning on a regular basis to the familiar sameness of these mountains brings a restoration of peace and fulfillment that new adventures just don't capture. We've found the mountains especially comforting in times of sadness or after grappling with unexpected illness. After Larry's surgery for prostate cancer in 2014, when he was strong enough to travel, it was a given that we would return to the familiar strength and peace and certitude of those mountains. The mountains just don't seem to change. They're timeless. And there's something in us that longs for something that doesn't change. Well, the Bible tells us that God is immutable. Malachi 3:6 declares that I, the Lord, do not change. The author of Hebrews tells us Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. James 1:17 celebrates the goodness of God, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. And throughout the book of Psalms alone, there are over 20 references to God as our rock. Psalm 18:31 says, "For who is God but the Lord? And who is a rock except our God?" There is something divinely placed within us that longs for the immutable and the unchangeable. that which we can count on to remain the same. Sometimes we can misplace that longing and assign it to another human being instead of to God. The author points out that while 1 Corinthians 13, the well-read love chapter of the Bible, is often used in weddings, the entire concept of a perfect love which always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres, and never fails is not a human love. It is not within us as human beings to love perfectly as God does. As humans, we are not capable of anything that is always or never. But how many times do we as humans, try to use those two little words as weapons against each other? You never listen while I'm talking. You always leave your socks on the floor. You're never ready on time. Or from our kids, we always have meatloaf for dinner. When we use always and never with each other, we are reinforcing a lie. As finite, inconsistent human beings, we may frequently do something, often say something, habitually do or say something, or seldom do or say something, but we cannot always or never do anything. Those two words can only truly be spoken of God. And how much better our relationships would be if we could take those two words and the expectations that go with them out of our thinking and recognize them for the idolatry that they are. Idolatry takes hold of us when we depend on a human relationship to perfectly fulfill our needs and never let us down. Idolatry takes hold of us when we depend on our circumstances to always stay the same and never to be disturbed by pandemics, illness, or misfortune. Idolatry takes hold of us when we count on a possession or a person to always be ours. But on the flip side, idolatry takes hold of us when we believe that a difficult relationship or circumstance will never change, will always be hopeless, or cannot be redeemed by God's grace. And idolatry takes hold of us when we try to justify our own unwillingness to turn away from sin by saying, "That's just me. I can't change. It's just the way I am." When we fail to acknowledge that God made us to be moldable, changeable, and especially in need of His saving grace and power to change us, we're clinging to a false god of self. We are failing to acknowledge that only God is unchanging and that He desires us to let go of our own natures and allow Him to change us to be more like Him, and to believe He can do that for those around us too. If 2020 has taught us anything, it's that life can change in an instant. It's also taught us that change is not something we really welcome, nor is it easy to let go of what used to be. The good old days call to us, and we want to return to a memory of what used to be. But change is inevitable. Change is out of our control. And it's so important to recognize that in spite of such great change, with more to inevitably come, there is a rock we can count on. All other ground is shifting, sinking sand. As the psalmist cries out in Psalm 61:2, "Lead me to the rock that is higher than I, for you, O Lord, have been my refuge." Thank you.
O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You hem me in behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, I cannot attain it.
Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me, your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light becomes night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you.
For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there were none of them.
How precious to me are your thoughts, O God! How vast is the sum of them! Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand. When I awake, I am still with you. If only you, God, would slay the wicked. Away from me, you who are bloodthirsty. They speak of you with evil intent. Your adversaries misuse your name. Do I not hate those who hate you, Lord, and abhor those who are in rebellion against you? I have nothing but hatred for them. I count them my enemies. Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting.